The address that follows was given at Croydon National Spiritualist Church on Sunday the 9th of October 1988.
Greetings, friends, and God bless each one. The words that I have chosen for you this eventide are very simple. But if we look into a number of life's lessons, we do find that at one point there is a simplicity. And if you get that right, then all else will fall into place. The words I would speak unto you this night are these: words and deeds. Now, quite clearly, these go together, and both originate from the mind, from thinking. Sometimes it may be felt that there is insufficient time between a word and a deed. And at other times, quite the reverse. But words usually precede a deed. And words, of course, are the element of speech. But always there is the exception that proves the rule. And in this particular aspect, we find that there are many deeds performed with no preceding words. And very frequently they are of a compassionate nature, which is why we like to think about them. Words and deeds. These should be brought together at all times. Because whatever you may believe, whatever you may think, it should be shown and clearly seen in the deed. But there are many people tonight who do not think as you are doing. But yet they put their thoughts and their words transferred to action and deeds. And this is right. Because although they are not thinking along the same lines as yourself, they are sincere. And that point is a very important one. Is a person sincere about what they profess to believe? Very important indeed. Now I have in a moment or two a short story that I would like to tell you. Short, but at the same time a very simple one, which gives us, as I have already suggested, a foundation upon which to base our lives. people, many of whom could not be persuaded into the doors that you have entered this night, and yet they are sincere about it. They sincerely believe that this, or whatever it is, has happened or will happen to them when the time comes for their, what you know as a passing. If you look back over many worthwhile books, you will read of good deeds being done in secret or private. The person, in many cases, not wishing, or cases not allowing everyone to know what it is they are doing. But we're out into yet another week upon this earth plane. Will you have put all that you believe into action? We know that this takes courage, because many beliefs other than your own are laughed at, or there is jeering. But the person of courage, and certainly the spiritualist who can consciously draw upon that courage from spiritual realms, will not hesitate to say, yes, I am a spiritualist, and this is what I believe. No, dear ones, so there are those round and about you who will give you that necessary courage, or whatever you may need at the time. The spreading of this word is very much up to people like yourselves. But I will tell you the little story that I had in mind. And perhaps with no apology for its simplicity, you will be able to take it into your own life and use it to help yourself along what we know is and can be a very difficult path. And without going away from the subject, there are, I know, many who feel that this time upon which you are making this journey is one of the most difficult. That is perhaps a matter of opinion, but I do not doubt that in many cases it is true. Now the story I wanted to tell you concerns a coalman, not a coal miner, but a coalman who for many, many miles drove his horse and his cart around very quiet roads, making his deliverance. And always he was a very welcome man. Now perhaps inevitably our friend's horse and cart changed to a motor vehicle. And although it was a long time ago, perhaps the roads also became a little less quiet. Now this man, partly because of his friendly nature, was a very welcome visitor. And occasionally he would go to a house to make his deliverance, and he would know that that particular family had fallen upon hard times. And that family would oft times find an extra sack of coal in the cellar. There was no word too darkly, and I'm sure that he achieved a great deal of satisfaction. Now we find, as we look at this little story, that though the mode of transport changed, the man did not. He remained a friendly, kindly man, doing a humble job to the best of his ability. But there was another side to this man, as there is to each and every one of you. When he'd finished his rounds at the end of each day, he would draw up outside the local church and leave his vehicle and go up to the door of the church and look around. Now to him, that day was not complete unless he had made that visit. And this is where we get the other side of that man's character. He was the leader of an organization to get that church restored so that it might safely be used by people to gather together, to assemble as you have done this night. He let all and sundry know what he was about, know what he was doing. He was anything but quiet when it came to any effort to raise funds for the restoration of that building that meant so much to him. And yet his day was not complete until he had had his little look into that church, that all was well. Now I wonder, how many of you pause in your day to check, to find out, to feel if all is well with the precious link that you have with the Spirit? We know the world is very busy, very noisy, but just those few moments, which I have to admit were easier for our Coleman friend to find than for yourselves, but they are very, very worthwhile, used in the proper way. Now, I'm sure you can imagine for yourself that after so much work and effort and waiting, when the day dawned, when that church had been restored and was going to be rededicated, was indeed a very important one, not only for our Coleman friends, but for all those people who lived round about. Once again, they had somewhere to assemble, to meet together with a set purpose. It was a day, a very, very happy day indeed. But it was followed by quite a sad one for the local people. Service. The same people were filing into that church in order to pay their respects and their tribute to the Cole. For quite soon after that dedication service, he passed to spirit. Now, to me, one of the things that makes this little story sad is that there does not seem to have been any effort or anyone about who could offer any comfort or understanding. The truth, of course, was that our friend had simply discarded the body. And that watch over that church that was so precious to him, he found not only could he still keep it, but could keep it more frequently as and when, if he desired to see what was going on in that church, he could do so. Now, there are a number of things in life it is very important to get right. And if you do not, it is important to try and change and to get them right as soon as you possibly can. There are two things that our friend had got right in his life. With the fact that when he desired, when he had it in his heart to perform a good and kindly, helpful action, no one knew about it until afterwards. The family who were in difficulties would go to the cellar and find that extra coal there. But how different the story when it came to him. His voice was very loud indeed, and he spared no effort or pains to let it be known what he was doing and why, and what the aim was, and so on. And I'm sure that for many a day after his passing, those people remembered him, and remembered him with gratitude. You don't always have to look into high places if you are intent on learning something. It is sometimes the little simple acts, just getting a few things right, and then you find that you can base others upon it and really build. And you, today, my friends, who are living upon this earth plane, you too can do just what our Coleman friend did in your own way. Do not hesitate to perform kindly actions. And there is no need for a trumpet or a fanfare before you do so. Just go about it quietly. Whatever you know, you do, whether it be for good or otherwise, is known where it matters. And I oftentimes feel that that is a thought that should give much comfort when you feel that you have been wronged. People all around you may have the wrong idea too, but the truth is known where it matters, where it really counts. Then we think of our friend when he took the cause of the restoration of that church to heart and made up his mind that he would make that his aim and ambition in life. That he would set about every effort that he could think of or find in order to obtain what was necessary to do that extensive work. And you, my friends, can do just the same. Do not be afraid